When I don't get what I want, my mind just like forms these pictures and scenarios, so it's like their journey don't end where the book ends. Like it ends where my mind takes it. But sometimes I just want that in writing, you know? It's not that hard to ask. Hi. I've been meaning to do this video for a hot minute. I've tried filming this video 3 times, okay? This is my 4th attempt at filming this video, so we're gonna get it done. I have all the books that I wish were longer in my notebook. There are a total of 5 books that I'm going to share with you guys, and these are also books that I recommend you guys to go read. But once you read it, I'm hoping that you guys agree with me in terms of why these books deserve to be longer or should be longer. I mean, it sounds very selfish. I'm sure the authors, when they wrote the end, they mean it's like the end. Some of them I'm being very selfish for because I'm just not ready to part ways with the book. And then there are a few I feel like it's not a selfish want, but like
and that's it? That's all you're giving me?
So that is what this video is about, and it's about books that I wish were longer. And I'm going to start with the book that inspired this video, and this is One Night of Sin by L. Kennedy. This one is actually one of the first ones that I read that really kickstarted my steamy romance binge from 2020, and it's one of those books where I'm just like, why was it so short? It doesn't make any sense. This is obviously before I read The Deal by L. Kennedy. It's my first book written by her, and I immediately knew like this author is going to write books that I'm going to love. Let's talk about what this book is about, and then we're going to get into why I wish it was longer. Let me look back at my notes. So One Night of Sin is about Gage and Skylar, and Gage is an ex-MMA fighter as well as a club owner, and Skylar is,
I don't know what she is,
but I think she's like a student, and she's like going back to school, like a graduate student. The book is basically good girl and bad boy. We have Gage, who's like
hot,
and then we have Skylar, who's very good girl, vanilla sex type. And once she meets him, it's like things change for her for the better, might I add. Why is this on my list, you might ask? And it's because this is so short. 140 pages of Gage and Skylar was not enough. First of all, this book is part of a series, so there are 2 other books in this series, and it's based off of friends of Gage who are also owners of the club, and their books are longer than this one, and this one is my favorite of the series, so why was it so short? Like, why? I still remember the first scene of this book, and it's from Gage's POV, and he's like,
I can feel eyes staring at me from the back of my head.
Okay, now that sounds like some thriller, murder, suspense novel, but it's not. It's romantic. I get how that might sound, but it's really like steamy and sexy. So I rated this book 5 stars, and this theme level was high up there. And it's like, why is it so short? That's my only complaint. Like, why is it so short? Like, I wasn't ready to, it wasn't supposed to end this quickly, you know? It's like, once I got to the very last page, I'm just like, what? That's it? And then I read the other books in this series, and it's longer than this one's, about 200 pages, and I'm just like, my favorite couple got the least amount of pages. That makes no sense. So just give this one a shot and come back to this video and tell me if you agree with me that this one was just way too short and needs to be longer. And that's all I'm saying. Every book on this list is 5 stars for me, so keep that in mind. The next one is Texting Titan by Casey Rose. This one is the first of its kind to give me a no-nonsense, drama-free sports romance. When do you ever get that? When I first read it, it was so refreshing to see like the leads just get along from the very beginning. Like, does that ever happen? Unless it's friends to lovers. But this is what I wrote. It should be a crime that this novel is so short. How many pages is this? Okay, look, this is 216 pages according to Kindle, but it does feel short because the book is very fast-paced and there's no drama. What we have here is Avery and Denver. So back when they were in freshman year, they shared one kiss. That kiss like sparked something between the two of them, but then Denver got a phone call, so he had to leave early, and because he left, Avery got to know someone else that was part of the football team, and she ended up dating that guy. The book takes place, I think, senior or junior year. At that point, Avery just broke up with her boyfriend, and Denver is one of those boys that is just so sweet and like dedicated. I love that. Okay, when it comes to books, when the guy is just like, I love you, and he means it and he stays by it, and during the time that he couldn't be with the girl, he's remained faithful even though they're not together. You don't get that very often, so you get that in this book, and that is why I recommend this book, and I truly do think it deserves 5 stars. So here you have a guy who's just like in love with this girl, and that girl's like the only one for him. Like, where do you get that? You don't. So read this book to see a drama-free, fast-paced, second chance, done so right. Read this one. The third book on my list is a fantasy young adult book. This one is the Red Winter Trilogies. If you guys read manga, or watch anime, specifically if you love Inuyasha, like I do, then you might like this one. Let me tell you why this series is on this list. You are thinking, girl, you already got 3 books in this trilogy, like what more could you want? Let me tell you. We have in this book Emmy, who is the new goddess vessel at a shrine, and we have our main male lead, who is Shiro, and he is a fox spirit. We also have Yume, who is a Tengu. It's not like a 3 main character book, but he does play a very, very prominent character in the series. Throughout the trilogy, we follow Emmy. She's just on this quest to find answers for her future, because she finds out these things that will happen after she truly becomes the vessel for a certain goddess. And this entire trilogy deals with like Japanese myths, like their goddesses and like a whole bunch of the demons and things like that. So it's just a very action-packed series. We have a female lead here who fights back. She does archery. Like I said, it's very similar to Inuyasha. It's just like them 3 traveling and fighting monsters, as well as slowly gathering truths about what life would be like for her if she were to do this goddess vessel thing. And now we're at why this trilogy is on my list. I spent 3 books being so invested in Shiro and Emmy because they literally went through death. They're fighting monsters, and once we finally got to the end, that's all I'm going to get. I don't want to spoil it, but it's just like, it's over 600 pages of me just like rooting for these two, and it's like fine, we get crumbs of their interactions throughout the trilogy, like I'm good, like that's usually what happens, but once we get to the part where they're supposed to be together, that's all I get.
Like, that is just so mean. Like, what the hell?
It's like 100 pages and you only give me that happy ending for like 2 pages. Like, what? That should be illegal. You can't be doing this. When I don't get what I want, my mind just like forms these pictures and scenarios, so it's like their journey don't end where the book ends. Like, it ends where my mind takes it. But sometimes I just want that in writing, you know? It's not that hard to ask. Although I will say this, and it's something that this book has that the others don't, and it's that in this trilogy you do get like drawings of our characters. Those were like some little surprises that I was pleasantly welcoming for a good period of time after I finished this. I had some of these pages as my home screen and lock screen because they were just, those can add to the little crumbs and chunks of bread that we got, but it still doesn't mean that I'm satisfied like 100% with the freaking ending. It's a good ending. I'm not saying it's bad ending. It's a good ending. It just wasn't enough. If you want to be frustrated with me, then like read this trilogy and we can just share that pain. The second last book on my list is My Best Friend's Brother by Hazel Kelly. This is also like a book that I read like 2 years ago in 2020. A lot of these books are actually 2020. Wow. This one follows Andy and Shane. This is a sports romance. Well, the title clearly states it's a best friend's brother, so we have that trope. Overall, the summary, the premise of this book is that Andy was best friends with Izzy, the twin sister of Shane, and those three grew up together, and now we are at college, and that's where the book takes place. It really begins with Andy showing up at the frat house party where Shane dorms. When Shane sees her, she has bruises, and Shane automatically knows what's up because Andy is dating this guy who turns out to be abusive asshole. Upon seeing Andy like that, Shane gets really fired up and he's angry, and he's like, I'm gonna go beat his ass up because how dare he lay his hands on you. You also know that Shane has had a crush on Andy as well as Andy on Shane, but they both never acted on it because of Izzy, like every other book. Obviously, after this whole scene, they do develop into intimate relationship, and then they keep it on the down low, and that's pretty much the entire book. And here's where we get to why this book is on this list. We got good scenes throughout this entire book, and then you know in every book like this, in every trope that follows like best friend's sister or like my brother's best friend or something like that, there's always that one scene when that third person finds out and the couple has to like break it off or they fight, so whatever. Every time that happens, it's like the same thing over and over again. But this one, I just did not appreciate how things ended. It felt very rushed. You can't do this to me. You can't give me one page of an ending when we went through 99 pages of suffering. Like, that does not work for me. I just felt like the delivery at the very end could have been better. Just like the author just couldn't wait to finish this story. And I've read her books before, not every book ended like this, which is why I'm sad that this one ended this way. Still a happily ever after. It just didn't leave me happy, but that's why this book is here. Nonetheless, it's also 5 stars like every other book in this. The last book I'm going to tell you guys is actually me being selfish 1000%. I posted this book on my Instagram as my favorite book of January. So this one is Accidental Sugar Daddy by Casey Rose, also the one who wrote Texting Titan. I learned a lesson with this book is do not judge a book by its title, because when you read Accidental Sugar Daddy, do you think it's going to be a deep book? No. Because that title does not make you feel like it's going to be emotional, it's going to be your favorite all of a sudden. Like, it doesn't give, the title doesn't give you that. But I am so thankful that I gave this book a shot and I read it because it became my favorite. Okay, it was like that good. It's one of those books where I give 5 stars, but if I can give it more, I would give it more. So in this very beautiful novel, we're introduced to a single mother of 2 daughters as well as a billionaire. We have Ellie and Owen. Every other book that I mentioned, the boys, the mans in those books, yeah, those are book boyfriend. This one, he's not book boyfriend, he's book husband. Owen is just, oh my god, he is amazing. He's what I want in a husband. This is how the novel goes. So Ellie's husband left, he's just gone, and Ellie was left to raise her 2 daughters by herself. So she has a best friend that sometimes helps out. In those years that she's been raising her kids alone, she's never had a night out where she got to have fun and just take some of the responsibilities off her shoulders. So her best friend tells her to go to this party. Ellie was like not really considering going, but her friend pushed her there, so she ended up at this party, which she then realized was a party for you to meet sugar daddies. So
where's my invitation?
Anywho, it's in that party that she got to meet Owen, who is this billionaire, and he's like so, I love Owen. He's like very caring, and he took an interest in Ellie and he wants to pursue things with her. He's a gentleman, okay? He's not out here to meet, what is it, sugar babies? What are these people called? He's at that point where he wants to settle down. He sees a future with Ellie, so he wants to get to know her, and finds out that Ellie is a single mother of 2 daughters. And this book gives you such sweet moments because the way that he opens up to them and like cares for them even though like they're not his is so beautiful. It's like so touching, and it's one of those emotional books. I have attachment to these characters. If I had to tell you to read only one book out of this list, this is the one that I'm going to tell you to read because this one is amazing, and this one deserves more than 5 stars because it's such a good, wholesome yet emotional read. And this one has one of the best epilogues ever, and that is why this one landed on this list. It's because the epilogue was so good. I'm just like, if you're not gonna give me more pages, give me more epilogues. If I remember correctly, this one had 2 epilogues, and the second epilogue is the one that takes place years later and it shows further into the future, and it was so cute. It literally only took me a few minutes to read epilogue 1 to epilogue 2, but it felt like the 8 years passed as well for me, and it was so good. I loved it. Clearly, Casey Rose, 2 books on this list, established herself as a very good writer in terms of romance. I love her main male characters. She writes good ones. Demmer was amazing, and then Owen,
My husband?
it's such a superior book. I don't care what anyone else says. It's so good. Seriously, give this book a shot. I read this in January of 2021. It's been a year and I'm still feeling this way about this book. So clearly top tier. And with that, we are at the very end. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Give these books a shot and I think you will fall in love with it and maybe agree with me on some of these cases where you will crave more just like I do. Finally giving you guys a recommendation that is actually a recommendation but also like a rant complaint. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!